In the name of Allah, the most compassionate, the most merciful. The life we are living, obviously, it takes effort, struggle, it takes, experience, it takes, knowledge, wisdom, something else. So that's how we can live well. That's the only way maybe we can live well here in this world, in this life. So it is important, the being wise is important, and being experienced is important. And with the help of both of these, I I think that we can live well, we can live successfully, we can live happily. Okay? Yes. And for that reason, you know, my own views are your views, somebody else's views, but we have chosen the views of a person who is a researcher, an author, and being a researcher and an author, he has done a good amount of work and has come up with a beautiful, with a very useful, with a very good article, and that article is going to be debated upon, and it has very good points in it, 12 points in it, and the caption of this article is 12 personality traits that show you are a wise and experienced person. 12 personality traits that show that you are a wise and experienced person. This is the article's caption and it has been written by Paul Bryan. Paul Bryan is a well known researcher and author. Let's go through all these 12 points. First of all, he says that you think before you act. You think before you act, indeed. If we don't think well before we act, then what does happen? If we don't think well before we say something, if at all we don't think well before acting, I think what does happen then? What does happen then? We do have to regret and repent later on, and the consequences and the results will be quite bad. So, for that reason, I think that we do have to think well before we act. Okay? And then the number two is you number two is you keep expectations modest. Expecting very high, it means that we do have to face the frustrations. So if we don't need to expect too much, if our expectations are low, what will happen then? We will not be hurt and at all, and we will stay stable emotionally. We will not lose our heart at all because we were not expecting much. If at all we have got little, so we will be happy with that. And that is the number second point in it. You keep expectations modest. Number three, Paul Bryan says you admit mistakes. Everyone else does make the mistakes. Everyone else does make the mistakes. That's fine. To err is human, and to err is human. So but some of the people, despite knowing that they have made a mistake, but they don't admit it, they are always putting the blame upon other people. That's not a good and positive attitude at all. So we need to do just the opposite thing, and every time we do make a mistake, I think that we must be ready to admit it as well, that this was my mistake, I seek forgiveness, I seek apology, and this was my mistake. So this was, you admit your mistakes. Number three. Number four, Nepal Bryan says, you rarely judge others. Judging others, it's not a positive, it doesn't show a positive mindset at all. Judging others does not show a positive mindset at all. So for that reason, we need to avoid it usually. Usually, we need to avoid judging other people. We have no right to judge other people at all. But sometimes it becomes necessary if at all we are going to interact with someone else. If at all we are going to depend upon someone else, maybe it is needed to judge somebody, someone else at that moment. So in that way, it is it is okay in that particular case. Okay. And number five, Paul Bryan says, you appreciate tact. You appreciate tact. Yes, what to appreciate and what to encourage and what to applaud. This is the tact. The tact is, skill or sensitivity in dealing others and handling the difficult issues. Skill and sensitivity in dealing others or handling the difficult issues. So, Paul Bryan says, you appreciate tact. We need to learn those skills and we need to adopt that sensitivity. We need to learn those skills and we need to adopt, we need to develop the sensitivity a little bit in dealing with others and facing the difficult issues of life. So that is, you appreciate tact. Number six, Paul Bryan says, you are empathetic. And indeed, we all need to develop the empathy. And developing the empathy, it is really, really important. It, you know, it we need to put ourselves into the shoes of another person, so to be able to better understand if at all he she has done something, so why actually did they do that. Maybe if we were in their position, if we were in their shoes, we would have been doing the same thing. So it actually generates the kindness, forgiveness, tolerance, for other people. So Paul Bryan says, you are empathetic. We need to develop empathy in ourselves. Number eight, Paul Bryan says, you don't dwell on the past. Looking upon the past to learn and to draw the good lesson out of that, that is really good. We need to learn from our experience. We need to learn from our past. So that should be the only utility. And having drawn certain good lessons out of that, we don't need to dwell upon it at all. We need to move on and we need to look forward. We need to focus upon our present and a bit upon our future as well. So how shall I be able to live better? What I need to do at the moment and what I need to do in the future. What are my plans for the future? Okay, dear friends, you don't dwell on the past. Number nine, you believe in love but don't depend upon it. Love, that's something really fine and great, but depending upon it makes us very weak, very much dependent, and very much vulnerable. We don't have to develop that much of the vulnerability in ourselves. Rather, we don't need to depend upon it at all, although we should believe in love. Okay. Number 10, Paul Bryan says, you forgive those close to you for misstep. Okay, forgiving, it actually lessens the burden upon our nerves. It makes us easy. It makes us live easily and it allows us to, reduce or minimize the stress. Otherwise, if at all we are not forgiving the other people, it actually means that we are increasing the burden upon our mind, upon our nerves, and it also means that we are not allowing ourselves to relax. We need to be relaxed a lot. Misstep. Number 11, Paul Bryan says, you don't take failure personally. Failure is actually learning. So failure is our learning. So don't take it personally at all. If at all we do take it personally, what is going to happen then? I think that we will feel like I'm devastated and I cannot stand upon my own feet again, and that I will not be able to restart, living fully, and that will be the trouble if at all we don't if at all we do take the failure as a personally. I think that we need to take it as a learning process, and we need to take that I shall be making the better attempt next time. I shall be making the better attempt next time. That is what we need to do. And number 12, you find happiness within. Extremely important. If there are people who says that I can't be happy unless I don't deserve the happiness, unless I am able to fulfill all my plans and to achieve my desires. I think that is not, if at all, our criteria and standard. If at all we want to gain the happiness in that way, it actually means that we will never be happy. We will never be happy. So we don't need to become happy in that context at all. Rather, we need to find the happiness within. We don't have to, we don't have to say that I need a good company, I need a good partner. That's all fine. That's all fine. But we should try to find the happiness within. And if at all we do find, I think that will be a great situation, and it will actually make us a really person who is able to enjoy oneself. And this was indeed a very beautiful, this is indeed very beautiful article, and the Paul Bryan is the author, and the caption again, 12 personality traits that show you are a wise and experienced person. That is something really we need to focus, and we need to learn a lot out of this article, because each and every point which has been written here, that is what that is really worthwhile. And for that reason, I think that we need to do a good amount of work. We need to develop on it, because 12 developing these 12 personality traits, obviously it might take a bit of effort and more effort, but it is very rewarding and very rewarding indeed. Thank you. Jazakallah.